So we're together again after having had 15 encounters over the 15 first Psalms of the Psalter. And I have insisted since the beginning they form a group. And today I really wish to be able to convey to you the beauty of these Psalms together in our liturgies, whether it be in the Eucharist or in the offices. We take selected psalms, but the psalms are since uh, long, long before Christ put in an order, and in that order they are grouped, and according to the Jewish tradition, they are grouped in uh, uh, in groups that are called chiasms, where they have a center and an envelope around the center. So let us introduce ourselves now to this first group in the Psalter, Psalm 1 to 15. And so we have been reading this since these past ascent and descent of the mountain of the Psalter, 1 to 15. Right? And I put as subtitle, a 7-level pyramid that upholds the unique hymn 8. And the pyramid is, I think, a wonderful picture because I've been to Egypt, looked at the pyramids, and there's something absolutely amazing. They uphold the top, and so does these psalms uh, enveloping Psalm 8, they uphold Psalm 8. And this is what I'd like to convey to you this evening, how together they are building up to Psalm 8. So we need to look at the top of the pyramid with Psalm 8, because we're going to try and understand all the other Psalms with respect to Psalm 8. You see in what I have put here, I've put a slightly different color for Psalm 8 and also 1 and 15. At the very bottom, we have a group of Psalms that are uh, uh, that are also in the sort of the same world as Psalm 8. But in the intermediate Psalms, it's another group, which is in green, between 2 and 7 and 9 and 14. So we're going to see this progressively. But let's look at the top of the pyramid, recall some of the essentials. I can't go tonight in detail, although I'd love to, with each psalm, because everything speaks. But I'm going to make a few sort of major comments on each psalm so you get the feel of the group, how they are grouped together. So at the top is Psalm 8. So let's look at our Psalm 8. If you remember, it has a refrain at the very beginning and the very end. O Lord, our Adonenu, how wonderful is your name over all the earth. And on the top, there's sort of a subtitle. Thus your magnificence is served above the heavens. So we have this wonderful beauty of God, magnificence of God. But then we have a very mysterious verse 3, which you have in front of your eyes. And what I've done in all these Psalms, I've put in a few comments so that we can not just run over these very special moments in the Psalms, but realize their importance. So I have written the introduction before reading our verse 3. As introduction, I've written this. This verse 3 is the highlight of the hymn as underlined by Jesus himself in his entrance in Jerusalem, Matthew 21, verse 16. With infants and babes. So we think of that, the idea, God receives praise. But if we look at the uh, meaning of this, the way this psalm is constructed, we have much more out of the mouths of babes and infants. It's linked to what follows. And I think that Jesus had that very much in his mind when he entered Jerusalem. Out of the mouth of infants and babes, you founded a fortress of strength on account of your adversaries to silence enemy and avenger. The comment I have above is, with infants and babes, underline, God finds the free cooperation he seeks for in his victory over the evil one. And behind the word infants and babes, we can think of little babies, but there's also, they represent this attitude in humanity of submission to the law of God like children who do not rely on their own strength, whose power is rooted in smallness. How is there going to be a magnifying of God's wonderful name? It's going to be precisely through this voice of humanity that takes on this childlike submission and which is rooted in smallness. And that's going to be the victory over the evil one. And so this summit of the psalm, right, is why is God's name wonderful? Well, it's essentially wonderful because God's name is the total victory over the evil one, to whom God wants man to participate. But what we have in yellow right after verse 4 is, but his for the Jews in ancient times, the stars and the heavens were an image of eternity, and so the best image of the magnificence of God is these manifestations of eternity. Truly I behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars you have perpetuated. You have, to whom you have given eternity, you have to read in the thought of an ancient. And that says the wonder of God. But what is great in this psalm is God gives, as I wrote just after, God gives to humanity its true greatness as summit and completion of creation. And we can say, even for Jesus, completion of creation, that means above the stars. We have man with his sevenfold beauty. And so, which, as I've given as title over and over for this Psalm 8, the sevenfold human identity mirrors God's magnificence. And this is the whole project of God, which is the summit of this pyramid. Let me just remind you very rapidly the 7 beautiful traits of humanity by which man is mirroring the magnificence of God. First trait, how great is man that you truly make memorial of him. First greatness is God made humans so that he can make memorial of these humans. It's not only we who make memorial of God, but he makes memorial of us. And that's basically what we have, this memorial relation in every Eucharist. So first splendor, second splendor, and the Son of them that you have truly visited, that you truly visit him, that you truly come to be Emmanuel, God with him, God in him, God intimate to him. Third splendor, you established him little lower than Elohim. The meaning here for the Hebrew is, for a little bit, you put him lower than Elohim. That's what's celebrated in Christ himself. He came down from heaven, and for a little bit, he was among us, a little lower than God, so as to live his passion and then rise up to the right of the Father, right? And so he was for a little while a little lower. And each human being is to replicate this, going a little lower so as to than Elohim. And this idea of humility at the core of the beauty of man. With glory and honor, you crown him. So you give him kingship, and kingship is first the quality of care a king has for his people, and to and with respect to bring them into glory and honor, our brothers and sisters. So that's what the beauty of man. And then you cause him to rule over the work of your hands. So God made creation with his hands, and he gives us a splendor is to with our hands, right? We're able to cooperate, in fact, direct the works of his hands. The image here is almost that our hands are able to go inside his hands and work inside his hands. And then you have this litany about domestic animals. And I wrote a little note here to help you see this sixth beauty, right? And dominion over domestic animals, and it's the same listed as in Genesis, is symbolic of wise use of freedom. We have animals, our passions in us, and our thoughts and everything, and they're all called to be domesticated animals, right? And that are under our feet. So you put all things under the feet, sheep and oxen, beasts of the field, fowl, and fish of the sea. And then final beauty of man, seventh, and man is a crosser of the paths of the seas. An illustration, contemporary, we could say, Mother Teresa, right? He crossed the paths of the seas. It's this capacity to leave one's own little culture, to espouse humanity in other cultures on the other side of the sea. So this is the message at the summit of the pyramid. Now, don't forget the picture of the pyramid. It's not going to be in front of our eyes anymore, because we're going to go forward, and we're going to go to the basis of the pyramid, which has at the bottom left of the pyramid we have Psalm 1, at the bottom right of the pyramid we have Psalm 15. And so here you have this basis of the whole pyramid. And let me read the little introduction, which is as applicable to Psalm 1 as to Psalm 15, first two lines. The economy of creation premise to that of redemption. We are fully created, right, to put into full blossoming what humanity is according to God's creation. And we are helped that by the Torah. Delight in the Torah is a way of life leading to intimate fellowship with God, which is already at a natural level. It's the desire of humanity. And repetitive acts become a path to supernatural divine identity and humanity's full true beauty. And that's the top of the pyramid, Psalm 8. So we have this basis to go up to Psalm 8 with Psalm 1 and Psalm 15. What's proper to Psalm 1 is assiduous meditation of the Torah. What's proper to Psalm 15 at the end. So, in other words, we get the Psalm 1 shows us take the right aim going forward. Psalm 15 says integrate that, right? So it starts with, "O Lord, who shall travel to your tabernacle? Who shall dwell permanently on the top of the mountain, on the mount of your holiness? Right? He who walks with pure integrity," etc. We're going to look at it in a moment, but let's go back to Psalm 1. So we have the aim, assiduous meditation of the Torah is going to enable us to live fully the creative dimensions of our humanity. And Psalm 1 gives us three traits that are helped, by which we're helped to blossom in our humanity. So first trait, which is the very beginning of the psalm, and I put as title up there. 1 presupposes voluntary distinction from those refusing the Torah. First line of the whole Psalter, happy the going forward of the spouse who goes forward not walking in the counsel of the wicked, not settling in the way of sinners, not sitting in the seat of scornful. So there's a renunciation which the Torah invites us to, so that we can live this meditation which can take us up in the Torah. But then the same Psalm 1 gives two other traits which the Torah enhances, right? And the second is fostering patient growth as a tree bringing fruit in due season. And that's the whole center of the psalm. And then and at the end, culminating in participation in the heavenly assembly of judgment as an intimate of God. So let's just look 1 second at the center of the psalm. The one who is assiduous in murmuring the Torah, he shall be like a tree transplanted by streams of waters, that by going forward gives its fruit in season, its covers, and whose cover of leaves withers not. And in all the going forward he does, he rushes to God. And on the contrary of the wicked, who are like chaff. So it's this, we have this growth of life, which creation has given us to live, and which is enhanced by the Torah. But then we have the end of the psalm, right? And I scroll down so that we be there. But so the wicked shall not rise at the assembly of the judgment. That supposes the just ones, those who are assiduous to the Torah, will rise up at the assembly of judgment, and they will be in the council of the righteous. And the Lord lovingly knows their way. So this is the first psalm, which enhances our creative dimensions, and especially in these three ways. But let's go back now to look how we integrate all this with Psalm 15. In Psalm 15, and here, as you see, practice of the Torah is a way also to eternal divine stability, and has three positive um, th- has four uh, triplets of attitudes. And we could say that natural morals, right, has many different attitudes. But with the Torah, look at the two central attitudes. Three renunciations to act so as to act with meekness. Three positive choices so as to act humbly. So it's a moral life, right, of choosing the good, which is totally centered on meekness and humility. I am meek and humble of heart. So this is going to this is going to be echoing fully, right? That this pyramid goes up to Psalm 8 and comes back down into the very realism of our creation. So here we have the basis of the pyramid. So keep always in mind this pyramid. And now we're going to go to this middle part where, if you saw at the very beginning, I put in green Psalm 2 to Psalm 7 and Psalm 9 to Psalm 14. And as you see here, just on the top of Psalm 2, I have one sentence to introduce this whole great central piece of the first group of Psalms. It presents the Messiah's traits, three traits of the Messiah. We're going to see other traits in future groups of the Psalter. But here we have Messiah's traits. One, failure of preaching to be received. So, another, failure of preaching received, right? His preaching is not received. Sorry, it's not English. I'll try and get it better, right? First one, the Messiah has a preaching which is not received. Second, the Messiah has a trial of death, but which brings salvation of the enemies of God. Third, the Messiah has an effective intercessory prayer. All this is the necessary complement to the creative participation of man in climbing the pyramid. And it's the Messiah penetrates these psalms, and as the one who can bring us, it's really the mystery of redemption, into the to the summit of image and resemblance of the magnificence of God. And so what's common with Psalm 2 and Psalm 14, God looks down from heaven in both Psalms on the descendants of fallen sons of Adam, stained universally. Right? He looks down at all mankind, stained by sin, refusing the gift of the Torah. Right? We are of those who still have the stain of the fall of Adam. But through a Messiah, God initiates for all these sinners paths of remedy, salvation, new creation. And as a mission stemming from Jerusalem, Zion, this is common to both Psalm 2 and Psalm 14. And let's look rapidly at what we have. This first introduction of the role of Messiah is Psalm 2, which is an essential one, right? And I wrote here, humanity refuses littleness in God's commandments, is in revolt put into action. God laughs, but gives the gift of his anointed, begotten King Messiah. And so, as the psalm says, and I will highlight what I'm reading in the psalm, right? That humanity, represented by leaders, the kings of the earth, right, plot together over the Lord and over his Messiah. And God's answer, right? We have a scroll down. He who sits in heaven, I'm sorry, I'm going too low. He who sits in heaven, the Lord laughs, is amused at them. But then and shows his fury, it terrorizes them. What it is, it's you need correction. You're on the wrong way. And we'll see what that correction is. I have anointed my king over Zion, my mountain of my holiness. And from then on, so that's God the Father's choice, right? And the end of the Psalm 2, it's the Messiah speaking. I will announce the decree of the Lord. He said to me, you are my son, I have begotten you this day. And ask of me, and I shall give you the nations as your heritage, put in your possession the ends of the earth. You will shepherd them with a rod of iron, like a jar of a potter, shatter them. So you're going to be my instrument so as to correct them. And so there's this necessary instrumentality of the Messiah, which sort of introduces this whole central part of the pyramid, 2 to 7 and 9 to 14. But very mysterious in Psalm 2 is the end. In the Psalm 2, the end of Psalm 2, let me scroll down to it. We have, as I put as title, God waits for the return of the rebellious child through his Messiah. He exhorts the leaders of fallen humanity with great meekness and humility, and not punishment, to be sensible and open to God's designs, leading to happiness. So to these inveterate rebels whom we are, God says, O kings, be wise. O judges, take warning. Serve the Lord with awe. Rejoice in trembling. Kiss the Son. And then avoid God's anger. And then finally, happy going forward for all who trust in the Lord. So the Messiah has come to solicit meekly and humbly our cooperation so that we come back to be little submissive children to God's plan. But this is very mysterious. And so that's what's at the beginning of the central pyramid. Now let's go to Psalm 14, where, as I said before, God also looks down from heaven and sees man. At the bottom of verse 1, there's no one is a doer of good. And at the bottom of verse 3, there's no one is a doer of good, not even one. So, same thing, we're in front of corrupt humanity, right? But what does here, Psalm 14 is, let me just read the title I gave. God seeks in vain for the man of reasoning. He says in verse 2, right? God has been looking down on the sons of Adam to see if there is any man of reasoning who consults Elohim. And he's looking for this rational cooperation, but as a little child. And he asks, right, in what's in pink here, have they not come to know all those who work evil, that they are devouring my people as devouring bread. They do not call upon God, right? And so here we have 7 sort of questions that are asked to our conscience. In the after seeing, when we come back down, we look, are you conscious of this necessity of the Messiah? At the end of verse 5, we have, because Elohim is amidst the generation of the just one in a singular, right? And will you not be confounded before the quest of the poor one? And wake up. Who will bring out of Zion the salvation of Israel? This free openness to the Messiah. That's the other end of the bottom of the pyramid. Then we go to the first prayer, Psalm 3 of uh, the Psalter, because before it's presentations rather, and immediately a Gethsemane type prayer, both 3 and 13, through trial under extreme persecution, and a mysterious sleep which sprouts in new, energetic, confident union to God. And so we have 2 facets. The positive going up the pyramid facet is Psalm 3, where we have a sleep of confidence, a heroic confidence, which is, I'm going to sleep because I trust in God. And what happens? Let's look at what happens in Psalm 3 with our sleep. It's verse 6. As for me, I lie down to rest and sleep. And then I read the comment, which is just after that. Awakening strong of God's response. I see God wrestle himself with the enemies, but sparing them from death, leading them to his people. Same thing Jesus at Gethsemane, restored in the Garden of Gethsemane to face death for the universal salvation, including those who crucify and mock him. So the psalm says, I awake, and truly the Lord supports me. And I encourage God, arise, O Lord, save. Rise from the dead, O Lord, save me, O my God, my Elohim, right? And then, because you are the one who's bringing your enemies, fighting body to body with your enemies, so that they come back, and so to the Lord be salvation, on your people your blessing, that all can recognize this beauty of God's work. We see that in these 2 prayers, and the prayer of Gethsemane is this essential work of God which happens, mysterious but essential. And Psalm 13 is a painful blossoming of personhood in front of this coming very close. And the expression in the center of Psalm 18 is at the bottom of verse 4. Give light to my eyes, lest I fall asleep in death. So it's also a sleep where I see my enemy is just about, lest my enemy say I have prevailed over him. He's just about to cry victory over me. But presenting to my God this closeness to sleep and this dereliction aspect of sleep, which Jesus also had at Gethsemane, right? Comes out with a new trust, which is the end of the psalm. As for me, in your covenant love, I trust. Let my heart rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord. He has truly dealt bountifully with me. We commented on that recently. Okay, 1 layer further up the pyramid, and always with this essential role of Messiah. And you could say the second level of prayers, prayer of confident hope and gratitude for God's gifts, and exhortation to repentance by mysterious envoy Messiah, unstained by the general derision. There's this uh, generosity of the Messiah towards people who uh, do not welcome him. And it's celebrated in these two psalms, this un, and especially Psalm 4, and what I have underlined, sharing my own intimate filial relation with God. Although in verse 3, we see here, sons of men, you love what is empty, you seek what is deceptive. But you see immediately in verse 4, know this, truly the Lord marvelously sets apart the covenant lover praying to him. We have this exactly, the gospel, The disciples don't understand anything, and Jesus is pouring on them the marvels of God. And and this is what this psalm is, right? Speak words within your hearts when upon your beds, and so enter into silence. Sacrifice sacrifices of righteous care and give full confidence to the Lord. You can't say more love, but what's the answer? Many speak thus: who will enable us to see tangible good? Who will give us? We don't care about your silence and your uh, invisible reality, right? We want here and now immediate consolations. And this doesn't take off the generosity of Jesus, of the Messiah, who ends the psalm with this beautiful. I lie down and sleep. Truly, you, O Lord, when I'm in solitude and fully confident, grant that I be given a permanent dwelling place, an eternal dwelling place. So that's at the beginning. This generosity at the beginning of the pyramid. At the end of the pyramid, this generosity becomes a plea, right? Because we're before such a non-reception. And Jesus is upset with his disciples. How long will I be with you, says Jesus, And here he says, the truthful, faithful vanished. Here, what I've highlighted right here. And then further down, right? But what happens? I am reduced to identification with the poor and the needy because, verse 6, because of the devastation of the poor, of the groaning of the needy. Now I arise, says the Lord. I will put in place salvation for he who longs for it. So, and how is this? And verse 7 is a central understanding for this psalm. The words of the Lord are words without alloy, silver refined, purified 7 times, and uh, uh, in a furnace on earth 7 times purified. In other words, God himself goes through the trials because the trial purified and is leading us also to purification through trials, through God answering much more than our beautiful speeches, our groaning, and our dereliction. So this is the way we go up the pyramid. It's this generosity, including in dereliction, keeping this generosity in dereliction. Then we get to Psalm 5 and Psalm 11. And here we have what's common between this Psalm 5 and Psalm 11. Psalm 5, here there's sort of little central piece of the whole pyramid. Right? Central theme of the Psalter: faith and love for God and his inseparability with good and absolute incompatibility with evil, harbored by those who take refuge in the place of divine presence. We think of the temple, and we're going to have both in both psalms this that this profession about God, a God who is inseparable from good and totally incompatible with evil. This is the celebrating this, but the place to celebrate this is the place where we find refuge for the beauty which is in the temple of God. So if we look at Psalm 5, right? Psalm 5, it's because of this purity of God's for good and rejection of evil, right? I'm going with thanksgiving for morning worship to the temple, and to thanksgiving and to confess this wonderful identity of God to which He is attracting me, and to sort of enter into His same love of good and incompatibility with evil. Right? And this is going to lead me to the joy of union with God. This Psalm 5 is a psalm that every priest in our Byzantine tradition prays before going behind the iconostasis, right? To enter into the Holy of Holies. And it's because to enter into this central identity of God, inseparable from good and incompatible with evil. And worship there is this beautiful reality. And so that's what Psalm 5 is. And Psalm 11, which echoes it back, right? And what I said is how do I enter into this beauty, right? Well, it's by not defending, refusing to defend himself before evil. And because I know that God is totally transcendent to any association with evil. So I can't think of Jesus, right? He does not defend himself before evil. And he does not. And so those around say, oh, you must flee from evil, right? This is what we have here at the beginning of our Psalm 11, right? There's the cry, flee, right? And those who say that also, your mountain, right? And you could say your temple, your place of refuge is as a bird. It's just going to disappear. But here, the psalmist, in this Psalm 11, does not follow these human thoughts, right? And keeps, although they're very aggressive, right? But he looks towards God in his holy temple, right? And that's what we have in the center here. Just one. What does he do? The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord is in heaven upon his throne. His eyes contemplate, his eyes probe the children of men. And this is where I put my trust. And this is why I go to the temple. I enter into this beyond, this transcends this our simple humanity to flee away from. And because it's God the one, verse 5, the Lord probes the just one and lawless one. It's up to him. It's not up to me. I can be defenseless because it's the Lord who probes. It's not me. Think of Jesus. So it finishes with this beautiful verse 7. Truly the Lord is just, and he loves the deeds of justice. The upright one shall contemplate the face of God. And so we're going by entering into this total espousal of good and total incompatibility with evil, right? Interiorly, right? I'm going to enter into the deepest contemplation. So I'm sorry we're going so fast, but this is part of helping you see the whole picture. So we come to Psalm 6 and Psalm 10. Right? What's common with the two Psalms? Two prayers under pressing accusation, where the dereliction, despair is overcome. And the two Psalms have the same expressions. They in Psalm 6 and Psalm 10 we have till when, and then the Lord has heard. The Lord has answered my till when, right? He's heard my till when, and I can fall into his arms, right? And so, what's the difference between Psalm 6 and Psalm 10, right? Well, Psalm 6, we have here, it's a supplication prayer while undergoing persecution, as if by divine wrath. We don't understand why there's this deep correction which is happening in our lives. We don't understand the necessity of correction, right? And so we cry out, right, in verse 3, have mercy on me, O Lord. Truly I'm the exhausted one. Right? Heal me. Right? And then this central, till when? Turn back. Turn back to be favorable to me, Lord. Free my soul from his bonds, right? All this, verse 5. And so, but God leaves me in this central experience, which is in Psalm 7 and 8, right? I am my sleep is rather, think of Jesus in Gethsemane, is a sweat of blood that falls on the earth, right? I'm weary of my sighing, my tears all night. I flood my bed from outside, from inside, I drench my couch. And I live totally this experience. Think of, I think of when I get sick, right? Till when? Till when am I going to be sick, right? And I just leave it and I pain and I don't see the reason of it, right? But there's this, the psalm ends with this turning around, right? Truly the Lord has heard the call of my weeping. The Lord has heard the clamor of my plea for mercy. The Lord has accepted my prayer. And therefore, may my enemies, right? In fact, here I recognize it's my enemies that have that are really the ones who are against me. God is for me, correcting me, but it's my enemies that also profit from seeing God's correction an occasion to put me down. So may they be turned back, instantly have shame. So that's at the upgoing part of the pyramid, the upgoing stairs of the pyramid. At the bottom, downgoing, we have Psalm 10, right? And where there's a mysterious intercessor. Who are these times when we say, till when, till when, till when? And so it's a mysterious intercessor for the persecuted poor innocents, as exemplified in Psalm 6. And This intercessor gives a long description of the power of the enemy. I jump over that, right? But a plea for God to rise, and God hears, right? But see, just go to where he says, till when? Huh? Till when will the lawless mock? Verse 13, O Elohim. Huh? And he, but then in verse 14, you see, truly, you are the one who knows and allots by your hands misery and frustration and correction, every sort of correction. It comes from you, yes, but it's a trial so as to bring me to to recognize that you are listening and you hear my prayer. And so we have exactly the same words as in Psalm 6 at the end of Psalm 10. You have heard, O Lord. And the desire of the poor you have heard, O Lord, directing their hearts for eternal stability. So this intercessor gives the meaning of our corrections. And precisely, right? So, you give right, may your ear be to give right judgment in favor of the orphan and the oppressed, so that the man who dwells on earth will no more be terrified. That there be a reordering of our disordered state since the fall of Adam, right? And so it goes through this experiencing a genuine till when, right? But God hears when I say till when. Okay, I'm going to go now to our last floor before the top, which is Psalm 8, which is the psalm of the magnificence of God mirrored in the magnificence of man. So, what's closest for the one who made this group, right? What's closest to touching the magnificence of man mirroring the magnificence of God? Let's read what's common to Psalm 7 and 9. I use supplications of one grappling with a judgment in which he has an accuser. Satan means the accuser. Faith in God, confession of God's victory, while he knows that the lawless one digs a pit into which he himself falls. So this is said in both Psalms, 7 and 9. And in other words, we're in front of the judgment of God. And, but we're precisely the enemy there. Satan, the accuser, is there who wants us to be condemned because we're the descendants of fallen Adam, right? And to present ourselves before this judgment is the final step to get into opening up to the beauty of humanity, mirroring God's magnificence. And I have a lot of emotion looking at this because we are all going towards a time of judgment, which is, in other words, our call to rejoin God in paradise, right, passes through precisely what this group of Psalms says in Psalm 7 and 9, right? You have to go through this experience of judgment. And twofold, in Psalm 7 and Psalm 9, right? We're in Psalm 7 and 9, and how do we present ourselves to the judgment of God, right? And it's these verses 4 to 6 of the Psalm. O Lord, my Eloi, if I have done thus, if I willingly misused power with grasping hands, if I reward with evil the one who is peaceably disposed towards me, if I joylessly, without cause, freed from pursuit he who unjustly oppressed me, right? So I come before God with my intention. Have I kept the intention of really bringing forth uh, the goodness and what's this humble, meek attitude, which the Torah is great, right? And I want to live it. And if I don't live it, I have an oath, right? Let my opponent pursue my soul and reach me. Let him trample down to the ground my life and bury my glory in the dust. I really, I make a vow to cooperate with God's call to judgment, to goodness, and to and ready to be judged by it. And thus I have strength to say to God, arise, take your stance. And it's you, as we saw, who's going to bring about uh, right the right conduct, right? So let me just take verse 12. Elohim is a judge with a right conduct. El makes his indignation felt each day. Um, and how does this Psalm 7 finish? And it finishes, I will confess the Lord for his just conduct. See, this is the ultimate entrance into heaven. I will confess. Lord, you have conducted yourself justly with me in every detail, including through my trials. How difficult it is. And sing praise of the name, O Lord, O Elyon. So that's just what's underneath Psalm 8, but the other psalm is Psalm 9, which is underneath Psalm 8. And Psalm 9 is really a thanksgiving for a God who is judge, for a God who is justice. Verse 2, which starts the psalm, I will confess the Lord with all my heart. I will tell gladly of all your wonders. Through you I attain joy and inner freedom. I will sing to your name, Elyon. Right? And because I go to verse 5, truly you enact my judgment and my vindication. It's you who are, it's totally in you, right? That I can be, I can live this justice, which is the essential trait of that I'm fully cooperating with God. And so let's just scroll down to the end of the psalm. And we have it, verse 20 and 21. Arise, O Lord, do not let mortals feel invested with power. And we can say that first for ourselves, right? Let not me, a mortal, feel invested with power. Let me be this little child of Psalm 8, whose power is in littleness. And is verse 21, O Lord, set teaching and correction before them. So I want your correction, Lord. Your corrections are a blessing on me. And this is because you see in the middle of the psalm, I just highlight the end of verse 13. He does not forget the cry of the humbled. So we have gone through the 15 psalms, and let's just go back to Psalm 8. We're at the top. Out of the mouths O Lord, how wonderful is your name over all the earth. Out of the mouths of infants and babes, you have founded a fortress of strength on account of your adversaries, to silence enemy and avengers. So how did this happen? Through this whole pyramid. So I am called to, you see, maybe as I said in the beginning, maybe I'd like to just stay with Psalm 1 and Psalm 15, which is, let me just be a good, faithful to the Torah. And thus I can join this marvel, magnificence of God. So, but this whole group says, no, no, no. You need in the intermediary the Messiah, who's there in 5 steps, no, in 6 steps, right? Is leading us into the experience of redemption. And what is the experience of redemption? It's our acts being insufficient and being uplifted by Christ's acts. So we have 6 layers of uplifting of the Messiah's acts with respect to our acts. So we can meditate over and over on all this, but it's already past 8 o'clock, and I hope that this has helped you catch that Psalms are not individual pieces, but they're part of a marvelous story, and where they go together with one another, and they complement one another, and they're around a summit, but which is reached through different steps. And we're going to find that over and over again in the Psalter. Does anybody have a comment, would like to say something about this? Is normally next week we're going to go into the next group, if you agree to that. And so I've for everybody to know, I sent you to all those registered by email. I sent the document. It's the final for the minute of my translation of these 15 Psalms, that you can taste them, and with these little comments to help you not just ride through each Psalm, but taste its uniqueness and let it penetrate your spiritual life. So is there any comment? Or it's something very different than simply living the Psalms with the breviary, or just choosing. Oh, I love Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd. And we're going to see that. It'll be this in the next group. Now, if you love the Lord, it's inside a very, very beautiful group, which is saying something unique about the designs of God, and which you only catch by looking at the whole group. So I encourage those who really want to taste the Psalter. So this is my first great step. Try to become familiar with Psalm 1 to 15, and let the beauty of how they are connected inform your spiritual life. It's a big program. I'm sorry to give you something so challenging, but I think it's worthwhile, and that's why I've been making the effort. Yes? Would you like to say something?
I just wanted my only comment is thank you. This has been really wonderful and edifying. So thank you
Yes, yes.
for
Okay.
all your work.
Yeah. So please keep in mind, especially this pyramid you have in front of your eyes right now, and it's it has something which can be constructive for your spiritual life. I'm persuaded of that. But it's not the only thing. There are 150 psalms. So we're going to see other forms of building up your spiritual life. But this is the first one, so I would say don't jump becoming familiar with this first group. Okay. Any other comments?
I had a question.
Yes,
So, in terms of praying with the Psalms,
yes,
is there like, and also in terms of the whole hierarchy of how it's laid out, is there a specific, I guess, pattern or rhythm you recommend when praying with it? Like,
yes,
say, for example, I want to pray with Psalm 1.
yes.
Do I
Mm.
go with Psalm 1, 8, then 15? Or maybe I start from like, if I want to get a pray Psalm 8, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I look
I,
at the different,
yeah,
like, yeah, I don't know, whatever you,
yeah,
whatever you
let's
say.
start with Psalm 1, right? I want to pray Psalm 1. What I mean by that is I want not only to just learn by heart Psalm 1, but I want to meditate on its message, right? And so I have to take time to go verse by verse through Psalm 1 and realize that it has a richness. And that's what I tried to underline a little bit with my comments in each psalm. There's a richness. So I stopped it. But once I've done that, right, uh, where is this psalm leading me, right? And so there you have the other 15 psalms. And uh, I would say to understand Psalm 1, uh, Psalm 8, and Psalm 15, uh, you can look at them a little bit rapidly uh, in this perspective. What does Psalm 8 say about Psalm 1? What does Psalm 15 say about Psalm 1? And and then you're going to enrich Psalm 1. And you're going to say, oh, yes, it's uh, uh, they're speaking to one another, these psalms. And therefore, let's go forward. Let's discover more, right? And then you can go either to Psalm 2 or you can go to Psalm 8, you can go to Psalm 15. And so first, uh, realize that inside the one psalm, there's richness to meditate. And but let that meditation lead you to at some moment looking at another psalm in the group. We say, well, what echo do I have in the psalm I'm meditating with that psalm, right? And you try and choose those that are close, right? You can you see you can choose those if you want to meditate Psalm 12. You can also choose to look at 11 and 13, right? Because uh, Jesus prayed them in the order, right? No doubt, but he felt the whole. uh, So maybe they can help each other, right? And so uh, that's what I would recommend for your prayer, right? Okay, so maybe we'll leave it at that. Do not hesitate to send me an email, any comment, or and I will also try to answer next time if any questions about this first mountain. But next time, uh, there's going to be a second mountain. Okay, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay. So let me bless you all. Right? Well, let me bless you. Let me go back to the screen with uh, some words of Psalm 8 because it's such a beautiful. We're going to say these words that Jesus, I think, when you look at Psalm 8, Jesus prayed Psalm 8. So he had, especially when he spoke about mouths of infants and babes, he had especially verse 3 in his mind. Out of the mouth of infants and babes, you founded a fortress of strength on account of your adversaries, to silence enemy and avenger. So receive us, Jesus, with this desire of being with the submission of little infants to your designs, so that we may cooperate with your victory that silences enemy and avenger. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. God bless each of you.
Thank you, Father.
Father.